الحمد لله رب العالمين وبسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واشهد ان لا اله الا الله واشهد ان محمد رسول الله. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum. And to my beloved co-host riding shotgun, she got it cocked and ready. Don't get it twisted. And assalamu alaikum to you.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. And
Alhamdulillah.
It's a big thing busting out with Facebook today. I haven't had a chance to dig into it. Did you look at all into that Facebook trip that's going on?
Yeah, it shut down. Both Instagram and Facebook shut down. It was shut down for hours most of the day. I think it just kind of reactivated about an hour ago.
Oh, did it? Because I couldn't set my StreamYard with the Facebook. Mm-hmm. So we're only on the YouTube side of it. We don't have a Facebook Live. But it seemed like it's got some of that WikiLeaks kind of thing going on with it, you know, like somebody.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anymore. You know, some of the little pop-up funny memes came up a few, you know, but you know, ultimately, it's a sign to business owners who depend solely on social media that it's like, you know, if it shuts down, how does that affect your party, right? For anyone. If this is your only means and platform, you have to start to be creative as to what you need to do. And so like my group, that we have a chat group on Instagram. So when it started shutting down, we were able to start, especially, and also on WhatsApp, we just put our chat on our phone, you know, and had our way to communicate. And we had the conversation about that because, you know, many businesses don't have a website or they depend completely on the followers. And it's like that can put you behind the curve because that shows you that at any time a platform can cut your whole situation off. So you have to, that's the same thing like finances, right? Like if you only have a job, if your job gets cut off, then do you have multiple streams that will be able to supply a way for you to continue to live? So it was just a sign in that. So, but if you're not in the tribe to have those kind of conversations, then you would be upset. Like, I'm unplugged. How do I do this? But you know, I was in a solution-based group of thinkers that we started to see, well, this is how we can use Pinterest, or this is how we can use email marketing, or how we can create a newsletter to connect with the people who are already connected with us, and how they can find us. So it opened my eyes up, even with my business, on ways that we can continue to communicate. If these platforms, if it all shut down, how will you communicate with your people?
Yeah. Well, alhamdulillah. So we're gonna push it on. We're flying under the flag of be a blessing and give God something to bless, right? So you details that, and again, upon the same principle that we see our Christian brothers and sisters, our Jewish brothers and sisters, our Amish brothers and sisters, and what have you, our Mormon brothers and sisters. It's like they're getting it, and they're getting it on the basis of what they believe. And the principle of belief is just so profound. It's, ultimately, we're going to get to really unpacking that more and more. So, but the point is, you see demonstrations of people who only have a part of what we have, but doing so much with the part that they have, because
Right.
they follow what they believe with action, which is only the only reality, but also, uh, in line with what they say they believe. So that's what we got to do. So,
Right.
and you continue to help us move on that path. Turn it over to you right now.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Thank you.
ta'ala.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum to everyone who is experiencing this recording or happens to find us on the YouTube at this time. I'm so grateful that we've had an opportunity to do this check-in and make it to another Monday. and have a chance to further have this conversation about wealth, this conversation about not just financial wealth, but spiritual wealth, physical wealth, mental wealth. Like those are all streams of wealth for us, because when all of those things are in alignment, the abundance that we seek in any of those areas are accessible to us. The recording that we listened to earlier, I sent that to my dad because I've been on this mode of um, replacing the things that I consume, right? And, or being more aware. Let me say that, not replacing, being more aware of the things that I consume. And that's also physically, right? So this week I started my 30-day vegan um, eating, right? Shout out to vegan Zainab's Vegan Delights, who is cooking my meals, because, honey, if I had to make the vegan meals, I probably wouldn't make it that far. I'm very limited. I could do vegetarian, but vegan is a whole nother set of requirements, right? And so I was really excited about that, because in my time of when I do my every morning reflections after Fajr, when I get up, I sit, I play my sound frequency healing, and um, I think about the things the goals that I'm trying to achieve. And then I wait till, so how do I do that? Right. I always stay in the space of solution mode. It's never about being in a space of staying stuck and saying that this is, why is this happening to me? Why is this? Why is this? It's like, it's never that. It's like, identify the problem, right? When you take your car to the mechanic and you identify your car is making a particular noise, like, okay, that's identifying a problem. If a check engine light comes on, it doesn't say specifically where the problem is. It just says you need to check it, right? And then someone goes in, and then the solution is you have to, drain out the oil, clean it, and put in new clean oil. There's an effort that has to happen in order to get it ready to be on the road again. So that's what I do every morning. And this is a new ritual for me, because it's something that I became more aware of about my energy in the day, the clarity of my thinking. I've always had this thing about it's just never enough time in the day to do particular things, right? And so I had to get into solution mode. Why isn't it enough time in the day? You get up for Fajr, you lay back down and go to sleep. And those hours that you're laying back down to go to sleep, you can actually use those hours before your day begins. And so I knew that I had to get myself prepared to make this shift. So I started to go to bed early so that I could get up easily for Fajr. And when I'm up for Fajr, I'm up for the day, right? And so I said, I knew that the goal is 5 a.m. That's the goal. I'm at 5:30 now. And so I'm slowly easing back to get myself to 5 a.m. every day to start my day. I find that I can think clear. The noises of the outside environment, the spirit of the day has not gotten to a place to distract me from what it is I need to do. I don't turn on the phone or anything like that, right? So in doing that and making these shifts to how I want my day to move, this is a helpful tool. It's a helpful tool for me. So I know that in understanding what it is that we need, you have to be solution oriented to get to the solving of the problem, because in the problem is the answer. Like, so my problem is not enough time. Okay, so what's doing that? Here's the answer. You create more time. Like, you got 24 hours in the day, you know? So I made shifts and it feels good. And I didn't try to do it cold, what people call cold turkey, where you just get up and then it's like, you know, starting right off the bat, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. every day. I would have quit, right? So I had to ease into it, had to ease into these things. And this is the mindset of creating wealth. So I wanted to increase my time wealth, right? And in me increasing my time wealth, it gives me an opportunity to be creative, gives me an opportunity to sit and flesh out ideas and strategies. It gives me an opportunity to reflect and be grateful. It gives me an opportunity to just be with myself, right, without any additional distractions. So having that, you know, let's look at what are the things that we want to create for ourselves. One thing in our conversation that we talked about was the idea of the Moses method, right? And then it's about asking the question, what is it that you want? You know that whatever it is that you want, you know something about it, right? So if you say, you know, I want a successful business, okay? So whether either you have an idea for a business, or you know something about business, you're seeking to create a business, or you have one. You know, I may have said one of those twice, but or you have a business, right? And so it's like, so when you have this thing that you're driven to want to achieve, then you know that in you wanting to achieve that, assalamu alaikum, welcome in you wanting to achieve that thing, you have to sit with yourself and say, well, what do I know about this thing? Right? So my organization, She Win, We Win, it's a nonprofit organization built to support Black women in their business, in their entrepreneurial journey. Started with me having that internal conversation with myself. I started my business. I didn't feel like I was getting the level of support or what people would call success, though the success was the fact that we opened it, right? But this is me talking with a new mindset as opposed to when I started, right? So I'm really careful about this term success, right? Because what I find successful, someone else may not find successful. But I say this to say that in this whole movement of creating this organization, I wanted to create a space where I felt my business felt supported. And so the first question, the first thing that came to my mind, the question that was brought back to me was, how do you support other women in business? And I thought to myself, like, oh wow, like I haven't, I don't in that same way. So I had to change that. See, I was asking for a thing that I was not doing. I was just like, okay, I opened it. Everybody come on in, support me, spend your money, enjoy this. But at the same token, that same energy, that this Camila was not exuding that same kind of support to others. So what I started to do, with no permission of anyone else, I just put up a post and I asked people to shout out their business. If you know a woman in business, tag their business down here, and I'm going to spotlight that business on my page. And so the first time I did it, the names were just coming in, you know, and I started to do this. I don't know if I did this every Saturday. Something's telling me I was doing it. Yeah, every Saturday. She When We Win, shout out Saturday or something like that. But there was a part of me that almost feels like I did it every day, but we're going to stick with saying it was like every Saturday. And they would tag their business, and with energy of my own effort, I would go to the page, get a picture from that page. I created a background, put their picture on the background, and posted it, spotlighting so-and-so's business, you know, and please follow and support. And I tagged them on that post. And it just be scrolls of that I would do this all day Saturday was the thing that I would do. Go to one page, collect their picture, put it on the template, post it onto my page all day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every Saturday. Effort and energy. I don't even do that on my page. I don't even post all day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on my own page for my own business. But my spirit was, how do you show support? Let people know that these businesses exist. Let people know that these businesses are of value. And that is what I have learned to know to be the Moses method. I'm sure that the man will share some parts of the story of Moses and how that unfolds, but I want to keep drilling down on the behavior of what that looks like, right? So in me doing that, I found a collective of women who had the same struggles that I was having. And had I not created this space and time to have this conversation, to share this experience, then I would have felt like what I was experiencing was unique to me. Whereas this experience now that I was having with the other women who were saying, oh my goodness, this meant a lot, you know, to feel spotlighted, to feel honored, to be acknowledged, you know, or hearing someone say, this business is the only way that I can make the extra money while working a job as a single mom. I started to get all of these stories in my DM, or women who were like, you know what, I was about to close this business. Because I'm pulling these names randomly based on someone who tagged someone else who was sharing their friend's page or what have you. And I'm just going through tagging those businesses so people can start to go out and see them. And it was such an eye opener for me that, as you know, as Bilalian, or what we call Black women, you know, in America as entrepreneurs, we don't have the level of support and resources that are available to others, right? We genuinely depend on the buy Black, right? There's definitely a population that has, you know, what they might call crossover, and they should. Like, what we have to offer is good for all of humanity, right? But there are also some things that are very unique to us culturally that requires just specific to our audience, right? And that the desire and the passion to ensure that this business stays alive and thrive, it depends on the support of others that look like we do. And so that experience for me helped me to know, okay, we need a bigger space and a bigger platform, because I started to get more and more and more businesses that it was taking over my business page, right? And so it became a thing where it was like, okay, we need to separate from my business page and move them to a whole nother platform, where we started the organization, where we started just that page where all the conversations are on how we support and work as a collaboration with each other. And then the ideal of creating a marketplace with all women entrepreneurs where people can vend with them, but making the vending space free. And when I got that idea, it was like, there's no way that this is going to, like, I can't afford, like, I don't have the money to do this, right? So I had to sit and strategize and figure it out. So here is the part about like when we in the recording that we heard earlier, he said the execution list, right? And I just got finished saying to my dad, the imam, I got to say my dad, that before we started, he shared a story with me. And I said, Allah is so masterful, just so masterful, because, the person on my execution list is on now. I don't know if she's still here. She just tagged in to give me the salams or what. And that's Aisha Islam. So I know, like, there are people that I'm surrounded by, people I can count on, on one hand. It don't need to be a whole bunch of them, that I know that if I have an idea that I need to execute, I know who I can call. And they know that when I say I'm going to do something, they're like, okay, what's good? We about to do this, right? And vice versa. That if they are doing something, it's no question. What is it that you need me to do to ensure that you have the success for what it is that you're seeking to execute? And this idea of knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. So I know nobody on my squad is going to contact me and tell me to make a spreadsheet. They're not going to say, Camila, we need a spreadsheet and some labels for this, and this. They know not to call Camila for that task. It won't get done. It won't get done. Now, if you ask Camila to create the program, you ask Camila, let's find a venue. You ask Camila, how will we structure the day? And, how do we want to honor the business people? You got me. You ask Camila to speak at a particular, you got me. Because I know what I know and I know what I don't know. Like, I'm not I could pick up the balloons, but I'm not like ordering. I'm not like, I know this about me, right? So I create all the outlines and this, and then I have teammates that fill in the blanks, that know, okay, well, this is that. And so when you know who those people are, when they call, you pick up. So when you think about those individuals, if you don't have an execution list, an execution based on the language that was used in this conversation, you don't have a list of those individuals that when it's time to get it done, who do you call? Like, I have that list, but I only have that list because I'm on theirs. And the way that I got on theirs is because I showed up in the fullness of who I am. And I'm clear about what it is that I know. And when they call me to do it, I'm doing it with full on energy that ensures that this happens. Right? So it's important to be very clear about how you perform and how you make sure that your team is on the mission. Because what I believe in, we share the same values. The ones that are on my execution, that we share the same values. So the valuing of sisterhood, the valuing of support for, Black entrepreneurs is so very important. It's like, that's important. So I know my execution list, we share the same values. So when I say, look, we need to do this, they're like, bet, what do we need to do it? I could call them up and say, look, let's make this happen, right? So let's think about, what does that list look like, right? I always make sure that I take a look at my time, and we're doing good on time. Okay, so how do you get the value of, getting the value of a particular message and understanding the wealth? Like, if you ask yourself, why haven't I found the wealth that I'm looking for? Why haven't I found the quote unquote success that I'm looking for? Right. And the thing is that it's right there. Right. It's right there. Some things that it's not a one-man job. There's no way possible for me to have built my business without the help and support of the team that I have around me. The teams, and specifically, my assistant. There's no way that we would have been able to get to even this level of where we are. And we're stepping up to another level. It's no way possible for me to have been able to do that without her support. And I had to humble myself to be like, okay, you need support. Like, this vision in your head is not a one-man job. It's something that it's some heavy lifting that's gonna have to take place to ensure that you get yourself closer and closer to this vision. And sometimes we try to do it on our own because our ego gets in the way, like, no, this is mine, this is how I have to do it, this way. Or we get ourselves hung up on, we don't want to pay for those who know. Because when I first reached out to my now assistant, I was like, okay, yeah, I need an assistant because I have some things that I need to do, and it's just becoming overwhelming. She would have did it for free. She would have been like, okay, so what's the plan? How do you want to do this? And I said, no, I want to pay you. So let's negotiate. Let's talk about what that is. Because, and I said to myself, like, how can I afford this? Like, but it wasn't about how could I afford not to, right? I couldn't afford not to. So it was important that I did, right? And so at that point, it was just like, okay, Allah, you're going to make a way for it to take place. Haven't missed a payday yet, right? So we still we still rolling. Even through the pandemic, we was making it happen, right? And I say that because I believed in this business. I believed in this vision. I believe current. And, I believed in it then, and I still believe in it now, that it's real. Right. And it's been challenging because it's been feeling like building a ship in the middle of the ocean during a tidal wave, but we make it through. Right. But I believed in it. And Allah made it so clear to me that this has to happen. This is the way it has to go. And I had to set aside my ego around, well, you should be this far after this many years or after this many months, or why isn't this happening here? And it's like, no, that part's not my business. The part that is my business is to ensure that we show up with excellence and that I give all the time and quality thought in educating myself to ensure its longevity. We be so pretty, like when we think about it, I always use pregnancy analogies, that you can have a baby at 30 weeks or, like later 20 weeks or whatever, but there will be some complications. It's like, the baby's there, the baby's moving, and you're in such a hurry to meet this baby that in birthing a baby too early, there can be complications. There can be parts that are undeveloped, right? But the patience is in, though it feels uncomfortable, and it's like sleep is getting a little more difficult, and it's the weight of it and all of it, there is a better chance of a healthy birth to go the full 42 weeks. And this is your business. This is your plan, right? That sometimes we be in such a hurry to show people what I did. Look at what I did. Look at what I made. Look at how I made this happen. This. And we move too prematurely. And then there's complications in the midst of it. And I did that. It's like, look, I'm not afraid to admit my mistakes, because in that, I learned so much more. And in that, I see the value and beauty of this business, because Allah showed up with the remedy when I relinquished the control over to Allah, because I know this business doesn't belong to me. This business belongs to Allah, right? And there is an unshakable faith that being an entrepreneur pulls out of us. It has to be unshakable, right? That this is a real thing. And that my why is to be able to be freed up to do the work that Allah has for me to do. But this is what is required in that is for us to know what we know and know what we don't know. And the things that we do know, that is what will draw in the expansion of your vision. So it's like, I have this great idea. I want to build a house. I draw it out. I drew what this house looks like, right? But in me drawing the blueprint of how, I don't know how to measure. I don't know how to pull wood. I don't know what kind of wood is the best wood. I don't know. Like, there are things I don't know. So now I have to call in the people that do know. And what am I doing? I'm providing jobs. I'm building their resume. I'm providing them an opportunity, right? Just from my vision. And so in me doing that, that expands. And then someone else is like, well, who built this out? Who designed it? I designed it. And they're like, oh, you know what? I've been trying to design an office for this, that, and the other. Are you available? Absolutely. And I got builders now. And those builders, as it expands, they can contact their people. So now this business is unfolding more and more and more, just by me recognizing I don't know how to build a house, but I have the vision to create the blueprint. I know how to sketch it out. I know what I want this to look like, but I know how to pull in the people who will be on my execution list, who show up with joy to ensure that this is built properly and with the right level of joy and the right level of love, because this is their masterful way of creating and building. And so that's what we have to sit with. When we don't know a particular thing, it's okay to not know it. But then you have to have that list of individuals who do know, because what it is that though they can build the house, they don't know how to write out the blueprint. They don't know the proper measurements and getting the right kind of, I think like in the city codes and, certifications and things like that in order to build on particular land. They may not even have the money and resources to get the tools and things necessary, but you do. You got all of those things. And now you need to bring the bodies in to ensure that this vision comes to life. And this vision that was given to you and inspired by Allah is the thing that we want to execute. So what is your vision? Who's on your execution list? Who are the individuals that you can lean into to show up to fill in the spots? And like, you don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to be done or done with an attitude or anything else, because they share the values that you have as well. So with that, I believe that that is my time. And but I can keep going. Oh, okay, there he is. So I thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions that we could type, because I think we're on Blog Talk too, right? Okay.
We are on Blog Talk.
Questions or feedback that people want to share. But as always, it's an honor that I have an opportunity to share my thoughts and feelings on this platform. It's always exciting. So alhamdulillah, thank you.
Talk like a grown woman. You talk like a grown woman out here. You can't hear me? Oh, my bad. Now
there you go.
I was still muted. Alhamdulillah. I was saying, you talk like a grown woman. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
We need some grown women and grown men out here, don't we? But I need to say on that note, listen, come on. Baby boomers, I'm one of them, mashallah. That's the label that we've been given, the born between 46 and 64. It is what it is. You got the Generation X, Generation Y, millennials. I don't even know what it is now. What's the other one?
I think you said it is the Gen X.
Gen X, okay. Alhamdulillah. So let me who we got here. MBS Business Credit. Alhamdulillah. This part is not my business. My business is showing up with excellence. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. That's right.
It sounds like a meme and a bumper sticker. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta get a picture that goes with that. And like the little cat hanging on the end of a rope with a knot. Hold on into the knot. Hang in there, baby. So alhamdulillah.
Hang in there.
Yeah. What I wanted to say before moving down the road, look, baby boomers, you need to be checking in with these younger folks. Even the Eric Thomas, he was he was talking about somebody who was in his 20s, and he said, I'm 51, right? So it's like for him, relative to the 20-somethings, he's like an old head, but
right.
Young people who are on and who are ready, who are in that tribe, if you will, they they register with them. But the people who are about that, they have to speak up for that and speak to that. And again, you have to, as you say, you have to know your strength, know your weakness, know your lane, know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, know what looks. I'm hearing these words like corny and whack and different things like that.
Right.
And they have their meaning in that vocabulary, right? But I'm saying we need to listen to some of these like young people. Okay, look, take 20 years off of whoever you are. Take 20 off yours, and then turn around and look back and check in with some of these youngsters who are doing things, and you can find them as we do find them. We find them, and we air a lot of them on wealth creation preservation. But what you will find, in addition to that, is that these are young people. The Quran says that maturity is at 40. The Quran says that maturity is at 40, 40, right? So that means we got youngsters between 40 and 50. I don't know where the cutoff is. The cutoff is, if the baby boomers, the cutoff was 44 to 64. So okay, so let's push it up. 75, right? 75 and earlier, like yourself, my dear, that fall into that range. Just like she's putting it down right here for us, there are also young, just like Eric Thomas that we listened to, he would fall into that same age category. And again, he's reaching out, pushing it, still relatable, but also a believer who is practicing what he preaches. Literally, he's the hip hop preacher, and he practices what he preaches. And I'm saying that there are many in this age range. I'm going back to the 40, 50 age range right now that are online, that are focusing on entrepreneurship, who have come through and have survived the streets. I mean, many of these that we're playing here, they have survived the street. They have, dodged the bullet literally and figuratively and came out on the other end. And most often it is because they have faith. I've yet to see someone, well, I don't believe in God, but I'm all right. I made my millions, blue, blue, blue. No, everyone I hear, they got faith. They got belief, right? Even at 19 Keys, 19 Keys, he done adapted Elijah Muhammad's, signature crown, iconography, and he rocking with that. So, okay.
Right.
So I'm telling you, these young people in this age range that I'm speaking of now, 40 and 50, who have seen the streets, been in the streets, got out the streets, and given themselves to God in faith and belief, and who have incorporated and codified their beliefs and make them work in the tribe that they're in, and created their own tribes in that respect, and with admirable success. And so I'm gonna continue in that vein today, so as to let me see where we going here. Let's see. All right, let's get it. I think that's a little too small, isn't it? Well, let's see if I can stay in here. Mashallah. Take it out. Take it in. All right, you're gonna be there, so don't fall asleep on me.
Oh no, I won't. I can always turn my camera off. You good?
Alhamdulillah. All right, so I was talking to Camila and I. We have our discussion most definitely on Monday mornings. And okay, where are we going? What are we going to talk about? What's going to be our focus? And so we landed on this on this particular video that she shared with us, and also the idea that came out was the Moses method, because so much of what he was saying brought us back conceptually to that particular principle. Now, what cemented the direction that I'm taking right now is I had some banking business that I had to do today that's not ordinary for me, but I did. And when I got there, the banker who was helping me was an Asian, and his name was Moses. Now, come on, I've never heard of an Asian with a name like Moses. So that was God saying, okay, well, this is your subject today. All right. And so this is it. So I want to, after having said what I have said about telling us, the Muslim baby boomer generation, turn around and pay some attention to the successful survivors of the street who have come out with faith and have established institutions and businesses and the like that are truly serving people. There is a lot of wisdom that these 40 plus year old, and it's even younger, but I'm just staying with the Quranic definition, the Quranic standard that says, okay, maturity is at 40. Yes, you're going to get something from those who are younger, but I'm saying you need to look at. I listen to them, and I know that there's some places that many of us as baby boomers and what have you, we just wouldn't go as baby boomers and as Muslims. So sometimes you don't necessarily see the value of it, and then sometimes the language would just is off-putting for you. But once you understand what that language is and is not, what that word meant to you when you first heard it, when you were 10 and under or whatever, or even when you used it as a teenager, don't even front. When you used it as a teenager, it's like what it even meant to you then, it doesn't mean the same thing. It doesn't, to you, maybe it does. But I'm saying now we're talking about as the language users, it doesn't mean to them the same thing that it meant to us. And I'm only saying that to say not for you to accept it, but just take those fish bones out of their conversation. Just take that out and then abstract from it the wisdom, because these youngsters, having demonstrated what they created from the mindset, which is a very important and prominent thing with them and should be with us, that it's like I have a mindset that has transcended the world that holds most of the young people in my demographic back. And I've come into faith, and I've come into an understanding of how to apply my faith in a way that has rendered me great success, and has made me a great servant of other people. I'm saying it one more time, baby boomers, go check out some of the wealth creation oriented YouTube aspects, and just sit and listen. You'll be surprised how much wisdom is there. But now, that being in addition, therefore, to that, extending that thought, I want you to couple what I said with this thought, which is an ongoing. It's almost like it should be like a poster for all of our broadcasts, because this is when I say all of our wealth creation broadcasts, because this is the principle that we're operating upon, and the concept that we really want us all to better understand, and that is this: that there are many materially successful non-Muslims, okay? However, their best values are only a subset of our deen. Our deen is a complete way of life, which is a complete set of divine values. The values of Al-Islam, it's a complete set of divine values tied to the natural laws of creation. What we Muslim believers should take note of is that even their phenomenal success is upon only a subset, not even the whole life built out of our values. The success that they're having is coming from a part, meaning that not because they're Muslim, but I'm telling you, they're non-Muslims. But the values which are universal values, when they have grasped the right one, that's just one or even several of the values that are a part of the total way of life that we've adopted. So to talk about tribes, it's like we're in the quote unquote the Muslim tribe. Don't worry about the word in its confining or limiting sense. It's just saying birds of a feather, right? It's like once you decide that you have a set of shared values, and you decide that you have a destiny, and you decide that you share meanings to certain words, and that language and the behavior that goes with that language, then that's the tribe that you're in. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the one who speaks Arabic is an Arab. Now, it's not talking about nationality or ethnicity. It's talking about the values. It's talking about the perspective. Language is not a race. Language is a particular vocabulary. It's a particular mind, right? So, in terms of the language that we have, when we share those values, then those shared values make us members of that particular tribe. I'll elaborate on that later. I don't want to get too distracted. I don't want to get distracted at all. But moving on. So, what we're going to be talking about now is the Moses method, and it's about being a blessing and being blessed. Being a blessing. See, in their language, in his language, in I believe his name is Eric Thomas. In his language, he's talking about being a blessing to someone. That's his way of saying, charity, being charitable towards somebody, giving and helping someone, so that you becoming a blessing in the person's life. That's an Islamic value. That's an Islamic value. But the entirety of what he spoke, what was addressed then, I know his way and philosophy of life and approach to it as a Christian is broader than just that principle. But the heart, literally and figuratively, of Christianity, true, is what we call charity, they call love. What we call charity, they call love. According to Imam Muhammad, and I agree. I just want to let you know where that comes from. So their attitude about love is a reflection of the attitude that we're supposed to have about sadaqah. That's not zakat. Zakat is an obligation. So when he talks about tithing, that's the equivalent of zakat for us. So that's got to be basic, fundamental, already there, established. Wa aqimu salat wa atu zakat. If you've separated those two things, and you're not just as forceful in your commitment to zakat as you are to salat, then you're a bird with one short wing and one long wing, given that you have one. And that really, literally and figuratively, doesn't fly. So the point is, so they have tithing, and then they have charity. But that charity is love. We have zakat and we have sadaqah. And so zakat, you're obligated to do. Sadaqah is that extra that you do. So what he talks about in speaking of being a blessing, well, that's what we mean when we say sadaqah. So sadaqah has to become, so that there's an example of that, the utilization of a subset of our values, sadaqah / being a blessing, i.e. charity. And look at how much it's prospering, and look at how much it inspires. Look at how much it motivates. Look at how much it blesses others and motivates others. So then that becomes, okay, Muslims, how many of us are actually and emphatically executing that at the level of importance that is supposed to be given? There's a reason why Imam Muhammad rahimahullah recommended for us to develop closer relationships with the Focolare. And one of the primary reasons of developing a close relationship with the Focolare, it wasn't just interfaith. It was being around people who actually lived what they believed in. They lived what they believed in. That is a part of our shared beliefs. That is, we share beliefs with them in relationship to what they say about love, understanding the translation, being charity, being sadaqah, seeing them acting on that. If we are around if we become a part of that quote unquote tribe from the perspective of shared values and acting on what we say we believe, then much more success can be expected from us because of the influence that comes from being around people who act out and act upon what they believe. That's also supposed to be, and it is, and I say supposed to be because we need to do more of it. But so I'll still say the idea we all need improvement, but at the same time, the Quran, when it says "Watawasaw bil haqq, watawasaw bis sabr," we're supposed to be influencing each other to reality and through reality, and we're also supposed to be influencing each other to patience, meaning being more charitable in terms of the give that we have for our brother. Okay, well, I'm gonna get out of pass, and I'm gonna forgive you for that. Da da da. What patience and also perseverance, meaning perseverance means that you have to keep going, I have to keep going. I have to continue to strive to do the right thing at the right time in the right way. You have to strive to continue to do the right thing at the right time in the right way. And we have to warabitu. We have to tie together in doing that. So it's like, if that's not what you're actually doing, and that's not your actual mindset, then you're in dress rehearsal. That's not the way for it to happen. So moving on. So from one of the youngsters that we listened to, this particular pairing, a way of pairing these words, and thus the kind of definition given to it is a very acceptable bifurcation of these two words: basic and fundamental. Basic and fundamental. So there's a difference between the basics and the fundamentals. The basics have to do with in this language. The basics have to do with the vocabulary. You know the words. You know the things to be talked about. You know the ideas and the principles. You know them from I'm going to call it a two-dimensional perspective. But those are not the fundamentals. The basics are the basics. That's to be able to have a conversation about it, to be able to include it in a sentence and all that. Okay, you got the vocabulary, right? Understanding words mean what they make you do. You don't really have that vocabulary until you act in accordance with that vocabulary. Now, when you act in accordance with the vocabulary that you have, now the vocabulary is real for you. But now you have to go beyond just having the words and being able to speak the lingo. Now you have to get to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals has to do with the metaphysics of it. When I say the metaphysics of, they say the physics. When it was talked about in one of our other broadcasts, they say it's the physics, right? That's good, so you can get to it that way. But it's not the physics as much as it is the metaphysics. When they said physics, it had to do with, well, looking beyond the thing itself and seeing the law operating within it. That's good. For us, speaking myself, it is the metaphysics. It's that there's the physics, but physics tells us about the operations, but it doesn't tell us anything about the nature of what's being described. Okay, so physics, the laws of physics can tell you about the operations, which brings in the idea of the mechanics of it. This is the mechanics of optics. So this is the mechanics of thermodynamic energy and blah, blah, blah. Physics. But the metaphysics, what's the metaphysics? That's more fundamental than the physics. The metaphysics is, what is it in the qadr? What is it in the law and order and the operations and the powers and the forces that Allah has ordered? Where is its place? The sawwa. Where is that? That's what we're talking about. I'm only saying that so that you can understand it. And I'm saying that also, and more importantly, is that when we're in a situation as we are now, and I'm about to read. Fundamentally, I'm just going to read an expression, the translation of it, because I'm not trying to get to the fundamentals in the most formal way. How do you get to the fundamentals in the most formal way? Through the i'rab, through the lughat al-arabiyya, through that. But see that the light of God comes through. It shines even in the not all of it, some of it, I should say. The rays, the rays. I'm talking about like rays of the sun. The rays of light in the truth of the Quran, they shine through even through the translation, even through the translation. That's how most of the people in our association, if you want to be for real now, you've been living, you've been living on the rays of the translation. And I thank Allah for it. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. But there's a very, much, the movement has been constantly growing and growing and growing for a deeper grasp of the Lughas of Arabiya, and we thank Allah. And I won't name any entities because I know somebody will get left out. But the point is that we have many that have a rich history and they continue to make contributions right now. Okay, so enough to cover the idea. So why is he just reading the translation? Because I'm talking about the basics, and the basics is just bring out the essential principle that shines through just the situation. Because we talked about figurative speech, figurative expression, right? So in the same way, whenever you have a picture, this what I'm about to read you is like a movie script, and I'm about to read Surah 28, verses 22 through 28, and it's like a movie. It's like a scene out of a movie. And so when you have this visual representation, okay, well, that's concrete, that's objective. Now from that concrete, or within that concrete and within that objective, is metaphysics. There is an abstract message, information inside that picture. The picture in that drama, it is projecting information that comes from the foundation of creation. Information that comes from the foundation of creation. That the little bit of light that shines through it, even if you're just reading the translation, that light doesn't come from the translation. It's coming through the translation from the foundation. Okay. So I'm telling you again, those of you, if you haven't gotten up to, I'm still telling you, you have to, you should, don't stop. You have to get to the Lughat Arabiya. You have to get in all of whatever, as much as you can possibly learn about the reality of that language, so you can have Quranic literacy. Okay, fine. But that being said, right? Uh, that being said, the illumination is still there. So I'm gonna have to move on. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir. 28, 22 through 28. It says, then when he turned his face towards the land of Midian, he said, I do hope that my Lord will show me the smooth and straight path. And when he arrived at the watering place in Midian, he found there a group of men watering their flocks, and besides them, he found two women who were keeping back their flocks. He said, what is the matter with you? They said, we cannot water our flocks until the shepherds take back their flocks, and our father is a very old man. So he, Moses, watered their flocks for them. Then he turned back to the shade and said, oh, my Lord, truly I am in desperate need of any good that you would send me. Afterwards, one of the damsels came back to him walking bashfully. She said, my father invites you that he may reward you for having watered our flocks for us. So he came to him and narrated the story. That is Moses talking to what history tells us is Jethro, which some say is also Shu'aib. It says, my father invites you that he may reward you for having watered our flocks. So when he came to him and narrated the story, he said, fear you not. Well have you escaped from the unjust people. Said one of the damsels, oh, my dear father, engage him in wages. Truly the best of men for thee to employ is the man who is strong and trusty. He said, that is the father, he said, I intend to wed you to one of my daughters on the condition that you serve me for 8 years. But if you complete 10 years, it will be a grace from you. but I intend not to place you under any difficulty. You will find me indeed, if Allah wills, one of the righteous. He said, he said, be that the agreement between me and you, whichever the two terms I fulfill, let there be no ill will between me, no ill will to me. Be Allah the witness on what we say. So sadaqallahu alazim, alhamdulillah. So that's a dramatic. You should very easily see that in dramatic representation. And so inside that story, you can see from the beginning, Moses was on the run. If you read further in the earlier parts of the verses that come before that, Moses was on the run, and he was hoping that God would guide him. He was not a prophet at this time, but he was on the run. And then he came to the watering hole, blah, blah, blah. The women needed help. He helped them, not looking for any remuneration. And then he went back, and his full condition was expressed in his dua. He said, oh, my Lord, I am ready. I am in desperate need of any good that you would send me. So he's saying that there's no good in my life. From his perspective, there's no good in my life right now. Oh, Lord, whatever you send, I'm ready to receive it. And then right after that dua, here comes the damsel walking bashfully, saying, my father wants to see you. And the rest of the story goes. So Moses, from his condition, and from one moment to the next, from his condition, he got a wife, a job, and a place to stay for 8 years. And the reports say that Moses took the 10 years. So alhamdulillah. So inside of that, what's the metaphysics of that? So that's the situation, that's the picture, that's the drama, that's the concrete. What are we to abstract from that? We are to abstract at least 3 or 4 particular steps that are involved. And I'm going to speak to each one of those, inshallah, now. Ibn Umar radiallahu anh, he said, the Messenger of Allah said, if anyone fulfills his brother's needs, Allah will fulfill his needs. If you relieve a Muslim of his troubles, Allah will relieve his trouble. That is, if one relieves a Muslim of his troubles, Allah will relieve his troubles on the day of resurrection. That's a wealth strategy. That's a wealth strategy. You want Allah's help somebody else. Just literally, you want Allah's help somebody else. That's the meta principle in the whole thing. Don't be so concerned or so overwhelmed about your own limitations or your own shortage of resources to the point where you see others who are in need and you say, oh, it look like a personal problem to me. What they doing out here anyway? No. He acted to help those in need, and immediately upon that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped him. Now, from the story, what precedes this particular portion of the Quran, you'll note that Musa was first, he was innocent. He was running, and you remember the situation of his brother and the other, and it's that goes to what Eric Turner was saying also. Thomas, I believe his name. He's saying that there are certain people that, and it was also called a damsel in distress during the interview of the piece. Now, those of you who weren't with us at the beginning, you kind of missing what we're saying just in part. But the point is that they were discussing about how do you know who God intends for you to help, and does God have injunctions against helping people, quote unquote, who misuse resources and who misuse the blessings that Allah blesses them with, and then you step in and you try to bless them after they wasted the blessing that God had given them? He said, no, you don't do that. Well, in the picture of Moses that preceded the 22nd verse of the 28th chapter of the Quran, that was effectively what was happening with Moses. He came into the town. When he first came in, one of his quote-unquote tribe members, one of the members of his tribe was fighting somebody. And Moses stepped in to help his brother, natural, the tribe. He's my tribe. So that's natural instinct to be concerned about family, right? But he struck the man with a blow. The man died. Moses, he's saying, it's like, no, I didn't hit him that hard. This is from Shaitan, what have you. Okay, so Moses goes on, right? Then he comes back through the town again, the same guy in another situation. And then Moses was about to help him again, and then he was identified and said, "Oh, you the guy that killed that guy, right?" And Moses, he started getting up out of there after he was warned about, they're looking for you, they're coming after you. But that's an indication. That's an indication. We know that Moses was indeed innocent in his. There was no intention on his part to hurt or kill anyone, but he was being, dare I use this word, triggered by his relationship with his tribe. But his tribe in this case was like, man, you're wrong. You're wrong in your act. But if you don't control yourself in your habitual way of responding to your people, then you're going to get quote unquote messed up, twisted in a certain way. So what's the first principle? First principle is be innocent. First thing is to be innocent, brother and sister. You've got to be innocent. You have to be innocent. We all quote unquote have shortcomings, right? Sin is a more quote slash Judeo-Christian term, but in reality, the Greek term for the word that's translated as sin in the New Testament, it actually is an archery term, archery, and it means missing the mark, missing the mark. So we all miss the mark on many things, but see this deen, this way of life of al-Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it crystal clear through the model example of Muhammad that he gave us. The Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, follow up an ill deed with a good deed, because the good deed will take away, will emho, it will erase the ill deed and behave well toward people. So since missing the mark is a part of our life, it's a part of the human condition, we miss marks every day. All right. So when you miss the mark, then what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to follow it up with a good deed and behave well toward people. Practice that. Practice that. Practice that. So much more to be said about that. So when we talk about being innocent, that's what we mean. Meaning recognize. Well, I gotta say, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said a man committed a sin, and then he turned and he asked Allah to forgive his sin, and the report that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hadith Qudusi, it says the servant of mine has committed a sin and recognized that he has a Lord that punishes and forgives sin. I have forgiven him. And that happens at least 3 times, could be 5, but at least 3 times that happens in the hadith. And the final line of it is, it says, go my servant, do what you will, I have forgiven you. And Imam Muhammad points out and said, that's like being released on your own recognizance, right? We know, yeah, you committed some kind of crime, whatever it might be, but in the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you ask for his forgiveness after recognizing that you have a Lord who punishes and who forgives, then God is saying you're released on your own recognizance, because you have a conscience. You have a conscience about what's right and what's wrong, and you recognize that you have to ask for forgiveness in order to get that forgiveness, right? Hadith Qudusi again. I'm talking about innocence, but not confusing innocence with perfect purity or something like that. That's the shaitan. It's like, no, there's no perfect purity in that thinking. You can be sincere, you can be innocent. And what? Let's take it from just that word, sincere. Sincere. Yeah, sincere. You can take that word sincere and split it up. And sincere. Now, this word sear, at least phonetically, it means pain. You hear somebody talking about, and he felt a searing pain. Sear is talking about the intensity of something painful, right? Sincere. If you're sincere, then that means the marks that you miss, you feel the pain of it. You feel pains of conscience. Nafsa lawama. You feel the self-accusing spirits. You know that that's wrong, right? You acknowledge that's wrong. You recognize the pain. Well, as the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can do it through the word, and we can also do it through the reports of the Prophet. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was asked, what is a believer? And the Prophet said, the believer is the one who, if your good deeds please you and your ill deeds displease you, then you're a believer. If your good deeds please you and your ill deeds displease you, then you're a believer. So if somebody want to give you a whole lot of drama and a whole lot of, you know, rituals, and as I'm not speaking of what Allah has given us through the life model of Prophet Muhammad. I'm talking about somebody else. I've read books from the country remain unnamed, books that tell you after Jumu'ah you're supposed to do like 10,000. I'm talking about this is published. 10,000 dhikrs after Jumu'ah, and then so many at night, and so many. And I asked, it was a sheikh who had brought the books, and I basically asked him, where that come from? I mean, what is that? And I had gotten a message from another brother. It stated publicly. It wasn't like hidden secret, right? Two things. I got to put it this way. We'll just cover and say as much as we'll be able to say based on the time. One brother visited Indonesia, right? When they visit Indonesia, we're quick to talk about how and alhamdulillah, and you know, we should, the history of Indonesia, and you know how Indonesia, the most populous Muslim country, etc., and how they became Muslim by the virtues of businessmen who had come there. But why was this brother? Why was he going over there? He was going over there to do some consultancy on drug addiction. Drug addiction. Because the drugs, prostitution, and things related to that in Indonesia are and were so severe at his time that they need to talk to somebody who's been in the middle of it and survived and come through it. And we have to say, Rahimahullah, the brothers passed away. In any case, so the point is, he said, okay, so that's the most populous, 95, 99% Muslim population. Okay, well, who's the prostitutes? Who's the drug dealers? Who's the pimps? Who are the drug users? The prostitutes, the prostitutes, the pimps, the drug dealers, drug users were Indonesian Muslims. So, and also in this other country that I'm mentioning now, that the Sheikh had the books and talking about all these rituals to do. When I asked him, I said, well, why is this? What is this? What is it? He said, he started describing the drug use, the prostitution, those kind of behaviors that were very influential among the Muslims in his country. And they give those rituals for those who would subscribe to them, to keep them distracted and away from those ill behaviors, those ill actions. They're not born of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those are not the standards by which Al-Islam says this is what you have to do in order to. No, you do what the Prophet said. Follow the evil deed with a good deed and behave well towards people, right? If your good deeds please you, your ill deeds displease you, then you're a believer. Sincere. One more thing on sincere, because that's what I'm trying to deal with. Innocence right now. Sincere. Let's put it like this, since we got a screen working. Sincere. Right? What's sincere? You see sin. You see sin and call it what it is, And this is Quran again. The Quran said the believers are those who fall only into small faults and then they don't justify themselves. See, that's where the shaitan comes in. I'm going to punch it right now, but then later on the other broadcast, I think it's on our Wednesdays and whenever it comes up, it'll come up. If you really, you want a quick abstract answer of who is shaitan? Shaitan is rationality gone bad. Shaitan is rationality going bad. I'll say it a third time. And this is just an abstract. Abstract means truth without details. It's true. Shaitan is rationality going bad. And one of the places that shaitan pops up after the jinn has already influenced us to move in a certain direction, what shaitan pops up with the justification. Oh, it's all right. I ain't no big thing. Everybody doing it. Why are you tripping, man? You are holy now. Right? Who's that? Who's that? That's the shaitan, right? So sincere means that you are a sin seer. You see it when it's sin. You see it, you're sincere, you see it. It don't mean you have to be holier than thou or anything like that, because the Quran tells us how to be. The Quran tells us that the believers are those who, when they see futility, they pass it by with honorable avoidance. You don't have to even get into all the ooh and listen. If Allah guide them away from that, if you see a way to stop it with your hands, speak out about it, feel bad about it in your heart, literally, without creating more problems than solving, like the Imam said, don't kick the dung. Don't kick the dung. You walking out and you see some boo boo. That boo boo, if it's dried up, then let it go and dry up. The sun and the rain and the water, it's gonna get washed away. But if you go there and you try to kick it, now you got a problem. Because it's all. I have a beautiful story about Omar, but I'm not going to go to it right now. Another time we read it. But the idea is that now you got it all on your foot. You got all, and every step you take, you're spreading that smell with you. So if you can't solve it with a quickness and a finality without making it worse, then that's not khair. When it says fastabiqul khairat, which is, see, I'm talking this way because this is the deen. This is our way of life. This is the mindset. This is our mindset. So it's like whenever we see things, we got something to say about it. We got a way to respond to it. It's a mindset, right? So when it said, pass by with honorable avoidance, Imam Muhammad said, don't kick the dung. So the point is that all that is just because you don't act, like quote unquote, some kind of Muslim metaphor of Superman, I'll save you, or something like you must not really be righteous. You must not really be down with the deen, or you're not really serving Allah's cause. No, there's a rational way to do that. We got to get away from this. All right. So the point is that, the first thing with Moses is that he was innocent. So you got to be innocent. Doesn't mean that you without quote unquote sin or without shortcomings. As God says through the Hadith Qudus, it says, all of you sin by day and by night. That's everybody. All of you by day and by night. Ask me for forgiveness and I'll forgive you. That's it. Do that and keep going. And what's the next thing? Once the second step is seek God's guidance first. Seek Allah's guidance first. When Moses was, they would call it on the lamb, right? On the lamb. Lamb means no, right? So I'm ready for any good that you come to me. So he was on the lamb. So he was on a negative situation, right? But the point is that he said that I hope that God would guide me, right? So after being sincere and innocent, seek God's guidance. Seek God's guidance. That's it. How many people are trying to do things without seeking Allah's guidance? It's not just saying Bismillah. You say Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, yeah, good, Bismillah. But are you listening to Allah's guidance? That my servants ask you concerning me. Tell them that I am always near. Mindset, huh? Tell them that I am always near and listening, and let them with a will listen to my call. Right? So you have to listen. Wattaqullah wa yu'allimukum Allah. Have God consciousness. Be conscious in the way that Allah wants you to be conscious, because Allah is always giving you the science. Allah is always giving you the science. But if you're not listening, if you're not paying attention, if you're not seeking Allah's guidance, then you just keep missing it. You just keep missing it, and then you'll wind up on the ta'ifum min ash-shaytan. You'll wind up wandering and wandering around. Okay. Second part. Be sincere. I'm not going to cover each point with that per se. Let's go to the next step. The third step is help someone who doesn't even have what you have. This is the point. You might think about your situation being a low situation. Trust this. There's somebody, as I was waiting in the bank, today, I'm sitting there. So there's a big window. You can see out the window people walking down the boulevard. And I saw this guy, and he's doubtless he's probably homeless or what have you. But you know, he has clothes on. Obviously, they were not clean, but he had the shoe was halfway off his foot. Shoe was halfway off his foot, off one foot, and the other one had a foot. And he was with effort doing the best he can to make progress up that street, right? I was there, had an appointment. I don't even know what I could have done for him in that particular situation. It wouldn't be intelligent for me to try to carry him or anything like that. All I could do is take note from the lesson, make dua for him, but at the same time recognize, man, do not think that your situation is a tough situation. Think about what his daily life is about, and you will hurry up and say, what in the world do I have to complain about? Right? So, I mean, that's very important. The Prophet says, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when mindset, huh? So when you look upon someone that has more than you, look quickly to someone who has less than you, lest you look down on what Allah has given you. Right? That was also in the clip, that the part of the clip that we played. The person saying, I'm in my tribe, this is the tribe that I'm in, and I see a whole lot of other tribes. It's celebrity tribe, athlete tribe, different blah blah blah. It said money tribe. It's like he said, he said in the name of Jesus, right? He said, I've never looked at any one of those tribes and said, I want to be in that tribe, or I got jealous of that tribe, or I'm envious of that tribe. No, I got what I got. I'm grateful for what I have, and I'm moving with that and moving with the people who are moving with me. So in that same way, it's like you have to help someone that doesn't even have what you have. So listen, that means that a strategy for you getting more help from Allah is you look at your situation. If you're in a Musa situation, based on the descriptions from this verse 28, chapter 22 through 28, in that verse where it says, I'm ready to receive any good that I'm in desperate need of any good that you'll send, then you can be thinking about your situation, maybe even at this moment. So I'm saying to you that the Quran, by this illustration and demonstration, is saying, you want God to help you? Then go find somebody who needs help that you can give, and they can't even give themselves. You got more than them, or you're in a better position XYZ than they are. Find someone who is more needy than you and help them. That's that third step. Hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It says, he who removes from a believer one of his difficulties of this world, Allah will remove one of his troubles on the day of resurrection. And he who finds relief for a hard-pressed person, didn't say a hard-pressed Muslim, he who finds relief for a hard-pressed person, Allah will make things easy for him on the day of resurrection. He who covers up the faults and the shortcomings of a Muslim, Allah will cover up his faults and shortcomings in this world and in the hereafter. And Allah supports his servant as long as the servant is supportive of his brother. That's a strategy for living. That's a strategy for being a blessing and being blessed. And that's our quote unquote deen. That's our way of life. That's our mindset. That's our tribe. That's what we do. And that's how the blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come to us. That's how they get to us. Let's finish this up. And the fourth thing, the fourth thing, where am I? I missed the fourth one. You get the blessing, right? You got third step. Okay, the fourth step. After helping some needy person, then you make your dua to Allah for your needs. That's how it happened, right? So the first is being sincere in your request for guidance, and then also have in mind, let me go back to the principles, better. Trying to summarize what that doesn't work for me. Seek the guidance from Allah. First, be innocent. Second, seek guidance first from Allah. Third, help somebody who doesn't even have what you have. And fourth, after. So you don't make your dua for your needs until after you've given that help. After helping some needy person, then you make your dua to Allah for your needs, and you make it repeatedly. And we're not going to go into the length of saying that. You make dua and you just keep making dua. You don't make dua like you make a hamburger order or something. You say, well, it should have been here by now. No, it don't work like that. You make the dua and everything comes in Allah's time. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So we're headed for the checkout stand right now. And that's what it's going to be. That's what we have.
Oh wait, hold on.
All right.
Did you mute?
It ain't me. Can I hear you now? Oh no, okay. Okay, wait. I see mute on your speaker. Hold on, let me get you. Hold on. Can't unmute.
I think I got disconnected somewhere, but carry on because I will be on. I think I have the blog talk cut me off, but but we good. I'm here. I'm coming in right now.
Yeah, we about to close out anyway. So, yeah, come on through. I think
so we'll be fine.
You still get on. So when I see you, I'll bring you in. All right, let me see what we got here. We got Imam Shuaib. I went back to the broadcast.
All right, there we go.
And it was no longer in the comments. And I want to take you up on the audio version of the Adam book. Okay. What you do is just send me send the email to sabilillah@aol.com, and we got to make it's going to be, I'm just saying $8 just for the audio. It's a 2 CD set. You send that $8, I'll send it to you. So send an address, and that's that. What else should I say, Camila?
No, that's pretty much it. Payment, right? I don't know if they're on the social media platform, because I think I always feel a little.
Facebook got dropped off. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if they can find you on Facebook, that would be a good way to connect with you. But since you put it on, because I'm like, you and your email just being like public blast.
Oh, yeah. So, well, I mean, it's already out there. I don't have a problem with people having my email. Because,
okay. All right. Well, then it's cool. Sweat. Then you've given the marching orders. That's what we doing.
Okay. So now I got you on Blog Talk, and it feels like an echo. I don't know. So
okay.
Things get switched up. So okay, so I guess that's it for the moment. Any comments that you want to give before we close out?
No, I want those notes though that you have that you shared today. It's a nonstop conversation, because this way of life is everything that you bring up, even in just sharing the story of Moses, that there are ideas, there are blueprints for our specific life and mission that Allah has put upon us in the Quran, right? And when you go into that, you can see, oh, okay, so my blueprint is Maryam. My blueprint is Eunice. My blueprint is Abraham. And you can see that the code for how you need to execute the things that you need to execute are there. And yeah, there are areas, and even all of those, even when I think about for myself, but I come to find myself strongly drawn in a particular area for what it is that I do. And I think that's the beauty of having your relationship with the Quran, to find yours? Like, what is your understanding of, if you're trying to figure out, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? It is in developing that relationship to understand that part of it. I think also all of those things are rooted in do you how do you see Allah? Like, are you still carrying a colonized idea of God, and in feeling that the way that Allah shows up in your life, like even in times of struggle or challenge, that it's to get you to see what you need to see to move forward, to make things better for yourself. That, and really believing and knowing that Allah is not, it's not exciting. Allah does not want us to have pain or oppression. It's like, but do you believe that, or are you hanging on to this idea that, why is it so hard? No, you're making it hard. Right? There's a part of us that has to understand that the hardness is when you resist. Like, the struggle is in resisting, right? So when you don't resist the direction that Allah is placing you into, it does become easy. There is an ease to it, and then getting our bodies to submit to what's being asked of us. Taking on a Ramadan mindset all the time, and how we govern this vehicle that is being moved by the soul that's housed in it. And that is the part that makes it easy, because we understand that Allah will give us the resources necessary in order for us to function fully. So if all the things that you've shared, I think that it's good for everyone to take a moment and sit back and reflect. Like, how do you see Allah in your life? Like, what is your relationship with Allah? And what are those ideas that you need to eliminate that don't belong to Allah, but you hang on to, and that is what's affecting your belief, that's blocking your success.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Good. So you can still hear me, right?
I can hear you perfectly.
Wonderful. And I can hear you perfectly. All right, y'all. That's going to be it for tonight. Was what it was, and it is what it is. Alhamdulillah. Rabbil Alameen. Always a pleasure to ride with you. Firstborn. Alhamdulillah. Always to know that the receipt has been received. Alhamdulillah. Rabbil Alameen. Thank you all for joining us, and mashallah, we will see some of you on Wednesday. And life goes on. May Allah continue to bless you and guide you. Oh, mashallah, we want to acknowledge Amelia, speaking about your assistant and then my assistant, they both lost their grandmother and mother in turn. That is her grandmother, Aisha Williams Islam, and my Latifa, Amina Latifa, executive assistant. Mother passed away maybe 2 days ago, I think it is. May Allah grant her forgiveness for her shortcomings and grant her entry to the paradise, inshallah. She's left a wonderful legacy, great fruit from her tree, and may Allah continue to extend it as it has been extended. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, as the scripture says, and we have beautiful babies that are still coming from her tree. Alhamdulillah. We have yet to see what they're going to bring to the world, and we know it's going to be great because they got that what some call royal DNA. It's happening. Yeah. All right. God's peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.